Of all the best of albums lists I've made so far, including the 2015 one, I didn't agonise over any of them nearly as much as I did for 2013. It was my more experimental year, listening to a lot of bands and genres that I usually didn't listen to, and listening to bands I already knew, trying new stuff, mostly with success. And as you shall see, that success put some of those bands on this very list today. I know, prestigious. Honourable mentions include Time and Pressure by Devour the Day, Notes from the Underground by Hollywood Undead, Ungrateful by Escape the Fate, The Wrong Side of Heaven and the Righteous Side of Hell Parts 1 and 2 by Five Finger Death Punch. Yes, I'm putting them in the same number, I guess, and Song of the Descent by Killswitch Engage. Now, let's go. Number 10, Broadway Calls, Comfort, Distraction. We kick off the list with another album that agonised over between keeping as an honourable mention or putting it properly on the list, but this album's inclusion relates more to the thematic presence of the overall list itself. Broadway Calls genuinely tried something different here to break off from their fellow peers, which is a weird phrase to say since not a lot of people actually know that Broadway Calls exist. But despite how different the album is, it doesn't lack the band's tendencies of charm, catchy hooks, or smart writing, and it's definitely worth your time, so yeah. Number 9, The Story So Far, What You Don't See. I mentioned this before when I did my Best Albums of 2014 video, but 2013 didn't have the most impressive pop-punk repertoire, aside from one exception that we'll get into later. What You Don't See was a marvel. I hadn't heard a lot of the story so far beforehand, so this was one of the better surprises of 2013. It was only their second album, but the band's sheer commitment to make every part of it enjoyable is clear to hear, and with 2 more absolute gems since then, it's safe to say that they've pulled that style off really well, in only the way that they could. Number 8, Bless the Fall, Hollow Bodies. Bless the Fall have one of those bad reputations as being part of the late 2000s metalcore boom for being as generic as most of the bands were at the time. Considering that their previous album Awakening only proved those critics' points, they'd had to do something magnificent for their 4th album, and they did. Hollow Bodies is the band's heaviest effort, it experiments with the band's core sound, it has emotional weight, dark lyrical content, and good god, the album cover is just amazing. This album is a perfect example of a band regaining credibility, so yeah, really good stuff. Number 7, Stone Sour, The House of Golden Bones, Part 2. As I covered in What a Concept, I really like this album. It was my first Stone Sour album. I'll always prefer it over Part 1, and the reason Part 1 is not on this list is because that came out in 2012, so yeah. And to be fair, it's not a bad place for me to start in terms of Stone Sour stuff. Considering that their lead singer fronts 2 bands who like to play with their sounds a lot, the fact that Stone Sour managed to find the balance between their experimentation and amazing storytelling for 2 albums in a row, remember, should remind you how good this album and this band is. Theatrical, heavy, and produced expertly. Hells yes, hells to all the yes. Number 6, Census Fell, Renacer. When the first single from an album is almost completely in Spanish and also has a weird and yet adorable pentahuman love music video, that's how you know you're in for a good time. Census Fell completely flipped the script on their own sound, aiming for a more hardcore punk style and ditching their emo roots altogether, instead focused on a heavier style. It was a big risk and it paid off massively in my eyes. With poetic lyrics, an artsier feel, and amazing production value, this album proves that Census Fell can definitely still hang. Number 5, A Day to Remember, Common Courtesy. An album that I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were expecting to see on this list, Common Courtesy, as well as an album that we'll get to soon, very much defined the term fuck Victory Records. Despite the aforementioned label trying to screw A Day to Remember, the band bit back hard and they sure as shit weren't subtle about it. The album shows the band's signature style with a heavy edge to it, combined with biting lyrics, great performances, and overall, a really good sense of hope that no matter how much a record label tries to put you down, like Victory Records, fuck Victory Records, you can always bite back at them with an album like this. Number 4, Counterparts, The Difference Between Hell and Home. Despite the fact that this album also came out through Victory, bizarrely Counterparts are the only band on this list that the label didn't really try to lube up. Obviously that doesn't stop this album from being on this list because, good god, there are albums that make me like bands, then there are albums that give me belief that certain genres can be art forms. Beautifully handled by Will Putney on production, as he always does a great job. This album is, for me, what makes Counterparts such a great band in the hardcore scene today, and considering the slew of albums they've released since then all being fantastic, yeah, I'm not surprised. Number 3, Streetlight Manifesto, The Hands That Thieve. From the band who basically came up with Fuck Victory Records to a band that weren't hurt that badly by them to the band that easily got hurt most by the label. Whereas ADTR's lyrics were occasionally more blunt, I do ultimately appreciate the content on The Hands That Thieve more its attempts to not just strike back at a bad record label, but in uniting all the bands under said label and striking back more as a protest rather than a violent riot. Obviously, the album is also fun, catchy, structured well, and has great performances, so that's also a really good factor going for us. Number 2, Let Live, The Black is Beautiful. Oh, Let Live, how I wish I appreciated you guys more during your time on this earth. Let Live was always one of those bands that I'd heard rumblings of, and despite how some singles now and then in 2013, I hadn't heard anything in full by them until I spun this one. Really, really glad that I did. This album is intelligently produced but not confusing, the lyrics are political and poetic but not alienating, and the performances and instrumental work are, well, they're just really, really fucking good, much like this whole album is, much like Let Live was. Still, hell of a career for him. And number one, The Wonder Years, The Greatest Generation. I find it strange that the two albums that The Wonder Years have released since this one have been okay. As I alluded to earlier, there are albums that give me faith in certain genres of music as an art form. This album gives me faith that pop punk can be an art form, combining beautiful production, emotional performances, and smart storytelling to conclude what was, at the time, a three-album concept story based around the band members' lives. The Greatest Generation may just be the greatest pop punk album of this generation. It's a goddamn blueprint for what the genre can and should be, but as it goes, there's only one album like it, and that album is my favourite album of 2013. Anyhow, now that's this list over. I'll probably see you next week for the 2015 edition, also next week. First of all, I want to say thanks to everyone who did show up for PVW's episode. There's going to be, the next one is the Go Home show. I haven't got the card set up yet, but I will. I'm really looking forward to that, because after that is Defy the Gods. And yeah, I'll most likely see you for another, for the last top 10 list, which is the 2015 one, because, actually no, there's also Music of the Month to do. The reason I'll see you for that is because I completely forgot that there wasn't any UFC to review until next Saturday. So, yeah, that's my bad. But, I'll see you all most likely for the next Music of the Month review. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye. I completely forgot to do the second chance, but there you go. Let's try that again. Thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.